Testing. Yes. Thank you so much, Hala and Ramya. Now, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, we do have two stages. This is the Innovation Hub stage, and over on that side, we have the Social Hub stage. And the program for that is just about to start. So please do make sure that you're heading over there as well to check out the program there too. Now, here at the Innovation Hub, we have a phenomenal panel for you who will be exploring, very important, I love this, the traits that define successful leaders by mastering the entrepreneurial mindset. And so to tell us more, please welcome to the stage, this panel is incredible, you do not want to miss this, Amal Dokhan, the managing partner at 500 Global, Matteo Boffa, venture partner at Zebra Ventures, and your moderator, Layan, Shkier, editor and researcher for Forbes Middle East.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the program so far. As Sally mentioned, this panel is going to be really, really amazing. But I would like to start by asking, how many of you either own a startup or work in the startup ecosystem or know a little bit about the startup ecosystem? Can you raise your hand? Okay, great. We have a few people from the industry. And if you don't know, I have with me two amazing people who are leading some of the biggest VCs in the region and are investing in some of the most important startups that we have here in the region. I would like to actually start with Amal. Amal, you have a very interesting story to tell of how you've entered into this domain. You were into, medicine earlier in your career, and then you entered into this field. So if you could tell us a little bit about that and about the idea that you believe in today, which is designing your own life. How did you end up, from medicine to reaching this point of mindset?
Absolutely. And I think a lot would probably have similar expectations, of wanting to do, that kind of linear path, but then life hits, and something else happens. So for me, in 1999, not so long ago, basically I started and I was a medical student. And the reason I wanted to do this, I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 12. And honestly, my whole motto was, how can I really make people's lives better? How do I really help and support and all of these stuff? And that's how I got into it, right? But then I got sick again, so I studied, education. And I started teaching. And I was teaching kindergartners, one of the most beautiful jobs ever, because you deal with the most creatives, the most disruptive, the most, life-changing, basically. And I think in 2009, I decided to study something else. How can I have more impact? That's when I got into business school, right? And I studied strategic marketing, started my first company, and then I started working in actually Dubai Shopping Festival. That was the very first after business school. And then I worked in an R&D university called KAUST. My job was to help deep tech companies, scientists, PhDs to look at the commercialization aspect of creating inventions, and IPs and bring them to market. I don't think anything, prior to that have prepared me for this, right? And moving forward, it went great, and then I was the lead of the program, and moving forward, started angel investing. Then I got into MIT, then Stanford, and then I am where I am today. I think the morale of the story is, when I started my career, this is how I looked at my goal. And it was so difficult to look at something else. As I went and looked at it, as my eyes started to see other opportunities, and I dared, I learned how to dare, honestly, to experiment new stuff and not to worry about failure and what my family or what the people around me will think. And I think this is the key. If you're able to unlock this part in your brain and consider small tests as added value rather than something that will take away from you, your whole life will change. And the reason I chose designing your life, you will never know the whole path. But I think with time, and maybe especially people my age, will understand and look back and say, I wish I did not get that upset. I wish I did not, I wish somebody told me, Amal, it's okay, that's part of life, and there are many more that will come to you. And I think maybe this is the message that I'm saying to you. Today, I'm a managing partner at 500 Global, and I manage more than 100 companies in my portfolio. And my job is to look for the creatives, for the most aspiring, and the most amazing entrepreneurs. And again, I think we are the luckiest, both of us, to work in this industry because our minds are always wired to find what is the next tech, what is the next new thing. We look at AI, blockchain, and other stuff. And do you think anyone can learn all of these stuff in one life? It's hard. But then when you work with entrepreneurs, you unlocked all of these stuff. So I think probably this is far off from investment, but it's a lot about how to read people, how to choose entrepreneurs, and how to judge different industries.
Absolutely. And Matteo, I knew that, I know we were just discussing that you started in Switzerland, your career, and then you moved to the UAE. So can you tell us what drew you actually to the UAE market to start your, VC here?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for the invite. I'm an alumni Forbes under 30, but 3-4 years ago, but I'm still having that in my LinkedIn profile just because it's very cool to have it as well. So a little background of myself. I'm coming from Switzerland. I started working for a bank at the age of 14 years old. This is not child labor. It's legal in Switzerland. We have it from chocolate industry, watch industry, banking, bakery, the guy that cleans the chimney. Every profession has a vocational path, and I started very early. Why? Because I was a very bad student, and my family wanted me to start paying part of my rent, so they kicked me out of the door, and they say, okay, start working, start earn your money. Worked for the same bank for around 10 years. I did my army service, which is still mandatory in Switzerland, for 2 years. Went to New York, studied English there, resigned, got married, got divorced after 3 months. Unfortunately, my mom died at the same frame time. Moved to Dubai, and I didn't really know what was Dubai, and it appeared to me like an oasis of opportunity in the desert. And resigned for the company that I was working. Opened first startup thinking that I was the new fantastic Steve Jobs. Never worked in IT. I said, okay, I'm going to create the best app in the history. Moved to India for 4 months in Pune with the developers. Failed. Lost all my savings that I collected for 10 years in banking. And I said, okay, now I go back to Switzerland with the tail in the middle of my legs, crying for help to my family, or I start something new. I decided to open my second startup that I exited successfully only a few years later. And now I realized I'm not a good student. I'm not a very good entrepreneur. So let's find people with good idea, a lot of time, a lot of passion, a lot of energy, but no money. So what Zebra Venture does, it's a group of angel investors like me. We create a micro fund of a few $1 million. And we do roadshow in university, especially in the Middle East, and now we are opening in Europe. Find the impact idea that touch sustainability, social impact, environmental impact, and we put the first ticket of $10,000 to $100,000. We are the friends, family, and most probably the fools that believe before the big players come into place. So we believe in the people even before believing in the idea.
That's great. And you mentioned that you invest in, impact startups. And there is this idea now that you cannot do well by doing good or doing good by doing well. So can you tell us about how can actually impact startups find the balance between making return and doing a positive change?
In my personal opinion, impact startup have to touch three pillars of sustainability, which is environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and financial sustainability. If one of these pillars is unbalanced, you create a house or a building which sooner or later will fall. If you have financial stability, you can employ more people that will tackle the problem of social impact. You can pay more, and as well, having environmental as one of your pillars of sustainability will help you grow faster and have a better reputation if you do it in the proper way.
Can you allow me to
Yes,
give an
please.
example? We have a company called Baraka. You can look it up. And it deals with surplus food. And when it started, there was a lot of people that doubted the model because it was all about taking that extra food on the shelves, and trying to sell it before it expires. And it was interesting how we looked at this opportunity. And it was interesting. It was exciting. There's a model in UK called Too Good To Go. And we got super excited about it. Now, it is actually one of the fastest growing companies, in our portfolio. And I think it proves the point that you can do good and you can have impact, but at the same time, focusing on the business model is the most important thing, because the issue that most social or impact-driven companies could miss out on is the metrics, right? Getting the unit economics correct and right from the beginning, and that's what could make VCs fear, not like you, but the other typical VCs could be afraid. The minute you say social or impact, they say, we don't do social. Although at the end of the day, we all look at similar metrics, but exactly, at the end of the day, you look at the numbers and all of these stuff, probably the extra part, you focus a lot on the impact. So just one thing to actually highlight, that these companies actually do well. I'm very excited about this company, and hopefully we see more, because it does change the narrative about impact companies and about really the possibility of funding them and getting them to really high scale as well.
Absolutely, and it's a very interesting way to look at it. And actually, my next question is to both of you. A lot of people always ask investors, what do you look at when you invest? Are you looking at the founders, or are you looking at the business? What is it? What is it that you prefer or you choose? So can you tell us?
I mean, most of the VCs, have similar answer, but honestly, it's not a cliche, right? Early stage investors need people. Like, if the product hasn't been done, if the business model never happened, right? If that market have not been disrupted. So I have to believe in the person. And you will say, why me and why not the other? Or why the other and not me? Why would you differentiate between the two? I think the first thing that I tell companies is, first of all, before focusing on the people, you have to do your homework the way we do our homework about DDing the investors. Are they the right fit? Did they invest in companies that are similar stage to you? So stage. In terms of chemistry, you will see a certain flavor, among the type of founders they invest, sectors that they look at. So I think doing the general DD, but we look at, when we say people, what is people? Part of it is also the chemistry. Can we work together or not? You might sit with me, you don't like me, right? You don't like that VC. It happens a lot. You don't feel it. And sometimes we say, it's not a luxury because you need the money. So you might get money from people you don't like at the beginning, but hopefully you have signed the right terms where you don't have control, where you don't have things that will implicate your company on the long term. That's why you need to educate yourself legally. The second point, actually, to look for in the founder, their experience. If you're starting something in the legal sector, but you have 0 persons in legal, it becomes really hard to bet on you at the early stage. 3, I look at the network. If you're saying you're going to disrupt this market, but you don't have a single, if you're disrupting insurance, you don't have a single contact of insurance, it becomes really hard. So we need validation at the early days in the person, in the network, in the co-founder, technically or commercially, that we can bet. Because most likely, whatever you start with at the early stage will not sustain. Most of the time, you will pivot, you will change, you will actually try something completely different. That's why we say people. So this is part of unlocking, or unpacking people. But please, your thoughts also on the other parts.
Now, from my side, as I mentioned in our briefing, 51% of success of a startup is based on the person behind it. From my side, I personally invest in things that I understand. As I said, I'm not consider myself an intelligent person in a way that if you present me something related to deep tech or health tech, I will not understand it. I will not invest just because I don't understand it. And the other part, I have a secret sauce, which is my lovely wife. When we decide to invest, we invite the founder at home after I went through a 2 months briefing, business plan, financial plan, pitch, everything. We invited at home and we cooked something very simple, pasta, pizza, and I asked them to present the company in 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, we just talk about passion and life and family, etc. People leave, and my wife does the gladiator sign. I don't know if you ever saw. So she looked at me like, thumbs up, we invest, thumbs down, we don't invest. And certain times I didn't listen, we lost money, and I have to say her ratio of success, it's more than 90%. So that's my source. Sometimes I go too much into sensitivity, so 51% is the human. But sometimes you need somebody, like my wife, that is a teacher, that is completely out of the scene and just say, okay, this idea will work or not.
That's a really interesting way, to get to know your founders. And actually, both of you have mentioned the importance or the importance of the founders of the startups. When you invest or when you look at these founders, what's one mindset that you think every entrepreneur should have to actually be able to thrive? Specifically, that now startup scene is very huge. It's very competitive here in the region. So, what's one mindset that you usually look at or try to find in the founders?
Very short, I would say resilience. So be able to adapt your idea. If you are creating something and you're sure this is going to be forever, I think this is the biggest mistake. Be able to pivot into different idea. For example, we invested in a company here called Zofer, which was born as a safe driver. People not able to drive themselves after a party or to bring kids to school. The idea was based on drive people and take them home safe. And market here in the UAE is quite small, and they decide, okay, let's explore opportunity with the B2B. And now the business, it's half B2B, half B2C. Otherwise, it will not have survived. And now we have 1,500 drivers, one of the biggest startup story in Dubai. So be able to be resilient, be a chameleon, change based on what the market offer you and the opportunity that's coming based on the future and not just the present.
I sure second. I wish there was a metric or a personality test that measures this on the spot. Because you're going to fall, you want them to bounce. You want them to actually be able to get up. And I think that's why resilience is an important metric. And another thing, honestly, the second thing that I wish we can measure better, which is the ability to build a team. In my view, moving forward, in every venture, a lot of people struggle with people finding the right partner, the right, head of tech, or any of these stuff. And the reason I think it's important to be able to build a team and deal with people is because when you're pressured, those are the ones that are going to pick you up, right? When you are actually going through tough times, they're the ones that are going to actually accept not getting paid for a period of time or actually continuing to do the venture and doing multiple stuff. And I think it's a lot of the time it's actually underrated how much the right team is the most important component, of any company. Because if you don't get that right, your life will get difficult at some point. If not an early stage, you will hit it at a Series A or at a Series B. That's why this is one of the most important things that anybody would measure. And how do we get that in such a short time of DD? I mean, inviting them is a good way. Honestly, most of the time we meet founders over Zoom. We don't even meet them when we make the investment. And that's what we've learned, I think, after COVID, that sometimes we have to make investments over, a Zoom call. But at the end of the day, if you're coming 3 of you on a Zoom, and you're leading the whole conversation, you haven't even introduced your team, you haven't allowed them to intervene when there is this signals that we try to pick. How do you talk? If it's all me, well, believe it or not, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. We don't want you to do it on your own, right? So I think there's all these metrics. I call people and I ask. I one time called an employer who this person worked with. So we do actually some DD to check on people and how people perceive them and how did you find them during work. That's the minimum that we can do during the early diligence. So that's also, I think, the ability to manage a team and deal with team. High empathy, is such an important thing that really, I think, it's becoming rare in today's world with all the technology advancements and all of these stuff. But we have to rebuild empathy, and that does not only apply for entrepreneurs, for leaders, for managers, and all of these stuff, because the minute you're able to connect with people, the minute you will see the return, you will spot better things. You will be able to be a better human. And I think we need better humans in companies today, because it's highly, highly, highly not looked at today. So, and you might see how much I'm aggravated about that, but empathy all the way.
Absolutely, and there's actually this saying in Arabic that إيد واحدة ما بتسقف, or what you cannot clap with one hand. So it makes total sense. And my last question actually is, what's one advice that you always give to founders when they are, just starting their journey into business?
I would say network, especially living in Dubai since the last 10 years. I personally think the network is the most important thing. I can give you my personal experience. When I arrived here, I didn't know anybody. I just Googled from the airport to the first hotel, Swiss community, because I feel comfortable in being surrounded, at least at the beginning, in a non-comfort zone with people that speak my language and have my same culture. And I became member of the chamber, participate in most of the events. I've been asked to be part of the board. I was president of the chamber in Abu Dhabi for a few years, and now we create the Swiss Business Council UAE. Now it's just to say we do 70 events per year, so many events. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of commitment, but this is the place where I found many founders, where we invested, many partners, many employees. It's the magic words, I think, is network, because as well it gives you the opportunity to filter your connection and say, okay, I work with this person, I trust this person, I work with this person, I don't suggest it. So that's, for me, is important to optimize my time, having the connection and the network that save me time and money at the end of the day.
Absolutely. What about you, Amal?
Yeah, totally agree on that point. And by the way, guys, if you're a founder, don't take any kind of rejection personally. I think that is the key in networking. You know, we've been all shut down saying hi to people that you wanted to talk to, but you got a cold response. Do not take this personal. You don't know what's in the minds of people. What are they looking for? I think the secret and the key to sharpen this is to continue, right? And the advice that I would give, experimenting small is not a bad thing in a company. I think experiment small. Minimum viable product is what everybody will tell you. Something that proves the concept. This is a secret that a lot of founders overlook. They want to build big. They say, we've got the money, but you know what? If any one of you goes to the gym and exercise, you know, if you carry so much weight from the beginning, what are you going to do to your muscle? You'll tear it. You're going to ruin it so early. And it becomes really hard for you to go back. While you start with 1 kilo, half kilo. You know, it succeeds. You know the positions. You know how to work it out. And then keep adding to this. And I think this is the key in any venture that I've seen successful today. They all started with smaller products, you know, and then they built it, you know, moving forward. So that's basically what I would say. Always experiment. Don't feel bad. Investors love to see small experiments, you know, especially a pre-seed and seed that have tractions. Maybe it didn't generate money, but tractions, even in terms of customers, you know, at the beginning of the day. But that's pretty much what I would say, you know, at the end. But if we're wrapping up this, I want to just thank, you know, Forbes. Really, really. I've been listed twice, you know, in the list of most powerful.
Been one of our heroes
no,
over the years.
I've been listed in 23 and 24, and I want to tell you that I used to look at this list and admire every single woman that is in that list, and always look and say, one day. See, I'm going to be in tears now. And honestly, when I saw my name, especially that I did not actually nominate myself at that time, it was all the people that actually came and congratulated me. It just brought me to different venues where I was recognized in places I didn't know, and it helped me with founders. You know, they come and talk to me, and it made things easier for me. So I think I'm just really thankful for that platform, for the opportunity that's been given to us, and for the authenticity of this list. So truly from the heart, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those who don't know, actually, Matteo was on our 2020 30 under 30 list, and Amal has been on our most powerful businesswomen for the past 2 years. And we have a new list, by the way, coming up for VCs. So just wait for that to see the stars of the VCs in the region. Thank you so much for being with us here. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. I think I can spot a lot of, you know, our listeners here who are founders of actually startups that are doing great and are shaping the future of our economies. So thank you so much for being with us and for sharing these insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shukran.